Hello, ghouls. Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Shrouded in Darkness podcast, where we like to shine a light on the cases that the world forgot. This is your true crime obsessed host, Marlena. As I've started doing, we will share our sources for today's research here at the beginning, and those sources include the Cullman Times, AL.com, and WVTM 13 News. Today's case takes us to my old stomping grounds in Holly Pond, which is a small town within Cullman County, Alabama. A dear friend actually brought this case to my attention, so we're going to dive straight in. Shout out to her, fellow book lover, Jen. Ghouls, I would like to introduce you to David Hayes, a 53-year-old man from Holly Pond. Although information is scarce, I think I found what was David's obituary. The dates and the information match along with the case, so I'm going to assume this is correct and hope I'm right. So David was born February 15th, 1961, in Mobile, Alabama, to Jimmy and Alice Hayes. At some point, he makes his way to Holly Pond, which is about a 4 or 5 hour drive from Mobile. And here he works as a truck driver. According to his obituary, David was a simple man that lived a simple life and that loved his family dearly. On January 14th, 2015, David was reported missing by his family. No one had seen or heard from him since Christmas Eve, so by this point, it's already been a week. Now let's fast forward a couple more weeks. It's January 13th, 2015. 33-year-old Matthew Thrasher of Hayden, Alabama, and 30-year-old Stephanie Underwood of Huntsville, Alabama. These two are arrested for shoplifting all the way in Kenosha, Wisconsin. During this whole spill, their vehicle is searched. Police find blood in, I believe, the trunk of the vehicle they're in. Well, they later determined that the vehicle is actually registered to someone named David Hayes. Yes, the same one from Holly Pond. So after interviewing the suspects, police learned that there's a lot more involved than just shoplifting. According to the couple, the owner of the vehicle was someone that was either killed or severely injured at a residence in Hayden. Which, honestly, part of this doesn't make sense because of what else they claim. According to the couple, the residence that all this happened at belonged to 32-year-old Christopher Jones. According to Matthew and Stephanie, Christopher beat David with something like a stick and a pistol. And then, I think together, they moved his body to David's own vehicle. The one that Matthew and Stephanie are in. The one that blood was found. So this information obviously leads to the Hayden residence, Chris's home. More bloodstains are found, and even the possible weapon. You know, like they said, it was kind of stick-like, which some people have said it was actually a baseball bat. So that kind of gives you a general idea of what this weapon was. This is what they used supposedly to beat David with. So eventually, another lead, or maybe possibly from the couple again, it leads police to a cemetery that is located in Pine Mountain area of Blount County. This is still in Alabama. This is where police find the lifeless, severely beaten body of the missing David Hayes. They find him in a shallow grave within the cemetery. So at the time all of this is happening, Chris is arrested. Matthew and Stephanie are actually still in Wisconsin because they have to go through those theft charges. They have to face those. Eventually, everyone is in Alabama. Obviously, Matthew and Stephanie are extradited from Wisconsin to Alabama. All three suspects are charged with capital murder. And all three suspects plead guilty. Now, in most of my episodes, I have a segment of interesting facts. So this is where we are now. And just kind of take them as you wish. again, this is just information I have found or have been told. So the first fact, Matthew had an older brother named Christopher Thrasher. Christopher Thrasher just so happened to be imprisoned 23 years before Matthew was arrested. It was also for murder. Christopher was arrested along with Nathan Gast and Carvin Stargell for the 1992 beating deaths of 2 Aniana boys, Malin Allen Eakes, 15, and Kevin Eugene Duncan, 14. And just so you're aware, Aniana is also in Alabama, around this same area as Cullman County and Blount County. So, sadly, it seems that the Thrasher boys, bad habits run in that family. So, moving on to our second interesting fact, my last one. Some people believe that Christopher Jones, the person whose residence, was where the crime scene happened, people believe that Christopher Jones wasn't quite involved in the story like Matthew and Stephanie indicated. It seems that the whole mess could have been drug related. It's also been said that Matthew and Stephanie actually lured David to Chris's home, and that he was just kind of dragged into the investigation more or less as a scapegoat. People that knew Christopher Jones say that he's not a person capable of doing such bad things. That's just not the kind of person he is. So maybe he's more innocent than we know. Maybe Matthew and Stephanie are the real main culprits of this whole case. Personally, I would love to learn more details. I've tried researching. I've tried multiple, algorithm possibilities and everything, and I've just found so little on this case. It seems like most of what I have found has focused on Matthew and Stephanie from their arrest in Wisconsin. I have found very little information about the victim, David Hayes, and you guys know I prefer to really focus on the victim to let people know who they are, their story. It's such an awful thing for anyone to lose their lives by the hands of another. That's most of these cases, that's what this involves, is someone dying at the hands of another person. But in this case, it's worse because you don't have the whole story. It's truly unfair to the victim, to the victim's family, and even to those that could be wrongfully accused in their families. I could go on and on about that, but we are wrapping up today's case. I know it's been a short one, but it's one worth hearing. As always, if you have any details worth sharing, or maybe you have your own theory, reach out. Connect with us on Instagram or WordPress. You can also comment on the listening platforms we use. Just search for the Shrouded in Darkness podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. And if there's a case from your hometown that deserves attention, send it to us. We love learning about new cases, so reach out. Tune in next week where we will be talking about the disappearance of the Thompson family. Until next time, ghouls, remember, the truth is always hiding in the darkness.